All right, welcome back. So this is part three of the sort of live composition series. And yeah, if you're seeing this, if this is the first video of this series that you're seeing, I won't go over everything we've done so far, but uh, just the whole purpose for it. To just go over it briefly again, because I don't think I mentioned this in part two. So if you started at part two and you have no idea why that I'm even doing this at all, um, this will clear that up for you, I guess. But so the main thing is that this is kind of my first attempt at an answer to a very common problem among composers and just music creators in general, whether you consider yourself if you're a songwriter or a producer or a composer, um, there's all these different sort of approaches to making music and forms and stuff like that. But the common problem is that a lot of people have a difficult time finishing a piece. So, and I'm seeing this. This is just a really, really common problem. I'm seeing it expressed on various forums, a lot of Reddit stuff and YouTube and just other places where people talk about their music and try to get advice. So, uh, as I talked a little bit more in depth in part one, I have generally solved that for myself, right? So I used to be in that position when I was first starting out, and I would get really excited and inspired, come up with something cool, a cool beginning to a piece or something, and then I would just get stuck inevitably every time. It's like I had all this energy going into it and inspiration, and I'm going to write this genius piece, and it's going to be amazing. And then I get stuck right after the beginning or in the middle or whatever, and I would just never really finish a piece, and it was this painful thing because it's like I identified as someone who was going to write music, and I wanted that result also, but I couldn't get through it for whatever reason. And there are a lot of reasons. Um, but, so anyway, I eventually, gradually got through that. And I'm kind of on the other side of that, where I kind of have the confidence that I can just get through a piece. And I've built various kind of tools for myself, mental tools, principles, techniques, and really just perspectives around that to get through to each next section in the work and to ultimately get to the end of a piece and be able to call it finished. Uh, and so there's a lot to it. There's a lot of reasons that people get stuck. Some of it is a skill issue. You just might not have some of the tools that might be helpful, but those are easy to get. Those are knowledge is just easy to get. You can buy one of the million music theory, music composition books, harmony books. There's a lot. You can kind of just pick one and you'll find something useful in there. But it for me and from what I'm kind of noticing in observing other people's kind of problem with getting stuck is it feels like it's like 90% psychological. And so anyway, so there's a lot of reasons. I'm not going to go over all of that again today, but the purpose of doing this whole series is to sort of do this just build a piece the way I approach composition, at least in this phase and this kind of like skill level and season of my life, and to just kind of go through the whole thing transparently, live, and just as honest as possible, as transparent as possible, and to kind of just show the messiness of it, right? So it's a pretty, I've said this a bunch of times already in the past couple parts, but it's a very like unromantic process when actually just putting all the pieces together and stuff. even though it can be a very romantic and really kind of inspiring, um, subject material that you're working with or whatever. Like, it can be fun and exploratory, and but also, like, when it comes down to really just getting stuff down and trying to like get your way through a piece, it can be really messy, and it can jump around, and you can do things that kind of might seem lazy or seem like cheating or just whatever. But yeah, so I just want to kind of demonstrate, like, as I work through this piece, the things that come up naturally. Um, and just see, just observe, like, what is happening, like, what am I doing, and is it okay to do these things? I don't know, but yeah. Anyway, so that's the idea. And then later, I don't think I mentioned this at all yet, but this is going to be raw, uncut, super, we're just going through it like we're hanging out in a studio together. Um, and I think that's one of the best ways to go about it. But like, they'll the videos are pretty long. The last two episodes are just under 2 hours. And So once I'm done with this piece and we've seen it through, we've gone through it and finished it, I will go back and I'm gonna observe a lot of the principles and techniques and tools, and just sort of lessons that sort of bubbled up to the surface as I talk through this compositional process, and I will make more concise, videos on each topic. So something that you can just go back and refer to a little quicker without having to come back to this whole series and try to find something within a 2 hour chunk of time. So that kind of thing. There will be more concise, cleaned up, smaller videos that are a result of this. But yeah, so let's see. Oh yeah, and this session is actually going to be much, much shorter. So kind of we can consider it a little intermezzo session, if you will. But yeah, the reason I'm doing it at all. So first of all, I'm not going to be like working on actual music today. I'm not going to be like diving deep into the music and making changes and going forward today. But the reason I'm, showing up and doing this is because, uh, you know, even though I am not, when you're away from the session, once you've worked on some music for a couple hours or whatever, and you are done for the day, and you go do other things in life, and you do some social things, or you go to work, or then you sleep and wake up, inevitably, like, your subconscious mind keeps working, right? So we've posed a problem to our subconscious, and now it is working to solve it. And It's not a problem in the negative sense, but it is something that is unresolved. And uh, often throughout the day or different times of the day, I'm just randomly getting sort of inspiration by maybe something else I'm listening to, or a conversation I'm having, or just randomly, like, something will bubble up to the surface and just be like, oh, here, it's like my subconscious mind will just start serving me an image that uh, is kind of a potential solution to the current section I'm working on in the piece, or maybe something that could potentially go later in the piece, or maybe it makes clear something that I was vague about, or that I hadn't addressed yet, or something like that. So these are just that's part of the composition process. And usually when those things come up, I will want to write them down as fast as possible. I want to capture them, um, or if we have a sketch like we have here, let's make this bigger here. I will go back to my sketch and I'll just write notes or sketch a little more on it, just to act as a reminder for when I do plan to go dive back into the session. Now I have a little bit more information to kind of play with. And so yeah, and inevitably this happened. It usually happens when I wake up. As soon as I wake up, I'm in this kind of like middle state, this kind of uh, open state, I guess, and that's when just things bubble up, and just and so a couple things. I just wanted to, be as transparent as possible. So instead of like just writing these down behind the scenes and not live, and I wanted to kind of wait till I was able to be live and make a video on this, so you can kind of just see that part of it, I guess. The only thing you can't, I want it to be as transparent as possible, and obviously the only thing you can't see is what's happening in my mind behind the scenes. I can't even really see that, obviously. So anyway, this will just be a little quick sketch thing, and then I'll get out of here. And tomorrow I will have a lot more time to just to start actually to continue working on the piece. So I'm gonna take our sketch here, and these aren't like big profound ideas that popped into my mind, but it's just enough that I wanted to get it down. So I'm gonna clean this up. Oh, wait a second, we lost it. Hold on a second, there we go. Make sure we have a connection here. Okay. All right, I think this is big enough. No, let's just make it, let's go bigger. Yeah. Cool. And, all right. So this is becoming a bit of a mess, so I'll just kind of clean up a little bit of this. We had this whole sonata form talk, but yeah, I'm just gonna get rid of some of these things. Cool. And I think I might just move this thing down a bit more. Cool. Okay. So I just had this kind of this very simple formal kind of image pop into my mind as I was thinking about transitioning to the next little section. So we've been operating in this thing here. That's the intro, the main kind of introductory material that we have kind of started exploring. And again, go back to the other videos, especially the first one, so you can understand like how we even got to this whole sketch. There's a story behind it, and it starts in the womb. And so anyway, the first little idea that popped into my mind was that this thing is so the thing I just circled before is that's kind of our experience in the womb, and then this high contrast yellow scribble stuff is the being ripped out of the womb. So this whole experience of breaking away from the intimacy of that womb and the mother's, hearing the mother's heartbeat and the sonic world of that, and having that be a stark contrast, big change in our experience. And so, initially the surface level idea that I had, oh wait, let me back up. So anyway, so that's that. The first simple formal idea that I had here is that maybe this is a climax, that yellow thing, maybe that is a climax point. So we have kind of this, right? And we have this climax moment. And that is like what now feeds the rest of the piece, right? And so I've already talked about how we related. I have this, oh, let me fix this arrow. I have this yellow arrow here that, and some of that yellow material is in the end, right? So we're kind of redefining that experience into something that is, whatever we see it, we perceive it differently. And anyway, so without going deep into that again, let's see. So I'll just complete this idea that I'm talking about. Really, sorry, this is right. This is like broken up, but I'll just complete my idea here to make it really clear. So this thing can kind of be first climax, climax A maybe. Okay, so we have kind of this dividing line, and so that's a structural function, right? So this is, now we can kind of potentially see this as a just a two-part structure, where this is, we're leading into this kind of thing. And then similarly, we are kind of doing this, right? And let me just, well, climax B. Okay, or even climax, well, one second. So climax A over there, and then maybe like, we can kind of call this climax A prime. And that's just that's formal language when you're analyzing forms in music. You have like, we label them A, A, B, those would be two completely different, or contrasting themes, contrasting moments. And then like A and A prime are closely related, but A prime is usually like an alteration of A, right, in general. So that's kind of how I'm seeing this now. That's what popped into my head when I woke up. And that's something that I would typically write down as a potential idea to work with. So now there is a little bit more of a cohesiveness here on a large level. And excuse me, I'm trying not to burp. And so, now it's like we can take that, we can establish that material in that first section, the first sort of A and B. We can kind of go like this, like on a smaller level, more zoomed in. That's kind of A and B. And then on a larger zoomed out level, we have the overall, A prime kind of idea. Right? So this whole thing, yeah, so that's just a thought. So the first A and B section, that can be kind of, that can inform the whole rest of the work. And then this whole second thing here, I'll zoom out a little here. This whole second thing here can be an elaboration on the first part, on this here, right? and it can have other themes in it. It will have a lot more complexity. It will evolve, but it will generally, gesturally, like in this larger sense, uh, it will relate to the first section. Yeah. I don't know why I'm having a hard time getting this out. It's a very simple concept, but yeah. Anyway, so I like that because that's simple, very simple. We can do complex things within it. Seemingly sonically complex things within the when we zoom in within that structure, but having a very simple thing to aim for like that on a larger scale is can be very helpful. It just gives us a direction. And like I've said before, sometimes the music will inform you and it will start writing itself. Once you have enough material on the page, it will sometimes just, you have to listen to it, and sometimes you get this insight where it's just like, no, actually, it's trying to tell this story and this is kind of where it wants to go. So we have to like relinquish control to an extent. It's like we don't want it to be completely open and free and chaotic unless you are wanting to embrace that. But you can't have too tight of control. You need to kind of, it's this fluctuating thing. You want a certain amount of control, but then you want to also have the openness to recognize when something better can happen than what you are, thinking should happen. So anyway, that was the first idea that came to mind. And then on a little bit more granular level, I was thinking about what might, here, I'll grab another color and go into that. Let's see. Let's get this, let's go purple. Sweet. All right. So yeah, I was just thinking about, we're currently in this area here, and next we will, once we establish something a little bit more solid in that area, then we will kind of think about how we're going to transition to this moment here. Is it going to be just abrupt and crazy, just a brutal amount of dissonance just out of nowhere? I don't know. Like, that's funny to me, but it's it's a surface level idea. So my mind started kind of filling in some things naturally, and so anyway, oh, I keep losing this. Sorry, 1 second. There we go. I think I have like a bad chord. So the idea, just to get that down real quick, is that I had this is probably not true at all, but there's this kind of emotional kind of content that I randomly came up with that just seemed natural to me, or just interesting, and musically it can just be kind of interesting. But so towards the end, so let's say like this is we're trying to go into it. This is kind of the end of the first section, marking the end of the first section and the beginning of the next section. And so if we're thinking like within the womb, and it's the perfect place, it's the ideal place, and that's, the whole concept is that we're ultimately looking for that again, that sensation again. We're trying to find that in music, and that's what music is ultimately for. That's why we seek it out, and the types of music we seek out and stuff. So that's kind of the idea that we're working with. And so, okay, so like at the very end of our time in the womb, before being, ripped out and slapped by the doctor, and all this light coming in and noise and all these higher frequencies and just this intensity, I'm imagining this elation, this last moment before that opening and before we come out into that chaos, and for some reason it just feels like a fun idea to, you know, have this brief moment of clear, open, just this beautiful, um, you know, consonant moment, this almost like a stillness. Ooh, yeah, you know, like a stillness right before the chaos of being ripped out, you know. So and so almost a deceptive type of thing, like musically for the listener who doesn't know the story underlying this, right? The whole thing is that we're not trying to render this story as something that is understandable by the listener. It's abstract. It's going to be, you know, pure instrumental music, but we're getting to this form, the form that it's going to end up in, by sort of outside subjective means, right? And so anyway, so like this would be kind of a fun deceptive moment maybe, where it's like there's this moment of rest, you don't see the next thing coming, and then it's just this stark contrast of dissonance, this just this strike of bright light and noise, and so yeah, and then you know, I don't know, I might need to make it, it might need to be a simple texture, but I kind of have this idea of having it be the moment of birth, be the moment of birth being like this, at once beautiful and absolute terror, you know. So at the same time, this dissonant, scary, brutal moment, but also this beauty underlining it, kind of a thing, right? Because that's kind of what it is, really. And how do we accomplish that musically? I don't know. Like I might not be able to in the time that I have to like make this piece, and I'm trying to like keep it relatively simple, so that I'm not, this session isn't, so that this doesn't go for, you know, 10 or 15 videos, or wait, just too many videos, you know. It doesn't really matter how many, but I also do have a vacation coming up in a week and a half, so I do have a deadline. I want to get it done before then, so there's not a large amount of time between sessions. So that's good. That's an imposed limitation that just allows us to be more creative and to focus on what's really important, and what is kind of what can be is a realistic expectation for us to do within that time constraint, right? So I kind of veered off there, but I just want to get this idea down. So I have this idea, this image in my mind of this just immense beauty right before the chaos, but the chaos maybe has some of that beauty in it right after it initially hits it, and then we're back into our mother's arm, or into our mother's arms for the first time, which is, and we're hearing her voice, you know, wash over us a little bit, and that's the closest thing to being in the womb. So it's like we're in, we're back to this sort of rested moment, but it's still a little painful because it's not completely, it's not the same as being completely enveloped, like completely immersed in the womb, right? But it's the closest thing. So there is a sense of rest, but it's not, that's going to be altered. So we still maybe have that kind of beautiful moment, some stuff that relates to the beginning of being in the womb, but it's going to be maybe a little bit less rested and more, a little bit more sort of, yeah, just unrested, I guess. Yeah. So, okay, I just want to get this idea down, and then we'll just kind of be done with this session, and then tomorrow we'll dive back into it and start, you know, operating on the music. So, so you know, I'll just make rough random notes like this. Okay. Well, make sure you can see this. You know what? I'm gonna move this sonata form thing. Cool. serene pause. Yeah, so I'll just make just, rough notes like that, just to, that's enough. That's enough to remind me for the next session. Okay, and then, I might have this kind of thing. Well, so it'll probably be very shocking at first, the transition into the chaotic moment, the sort of B section, and then we will kind of start maybe hearing, something. Oh, that's messy, but we'll start kind of like, I don't know, it'll ease into, somehow we will maybe ease into this beautiful, the beauty of it at the same time. I don't know, just something like that, right? Just kind of. Just generally like that, right? That's just the general, very, abstract visual idea that will become a musical idea eventually. 1 second there. Okay. Sorry if that was loud. Okay. And then less rested. I'll do stuff like this. Yeah. So anyway, beautiful handwriting, really, really beautiful. Okay. So that's kind of the idea right there. Okay, so now, yeah, just some ideas that came to mind, got them down, and then we'll come back tomorrow and we'll start working where we left off and start trying to shape some ideas. So yeah, anyway, thanks for hanging out for this shorter session, and we'll just be back tomorrow. Yeah, thanks. Bye.